Buenos dias ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well. In this video we're covering normal Redditors that dated a celebrity. What was it like? Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. Not a romantic date in the least, but I had dinner once at a Japanese restaurant in a group setting, with Leonardo DiCaprio while he was in Louisiana filming Django Unchained. He wanted to know what college was like and was asking us all about our lives. He also let me try his udon. It was my first ever Instagram post. He really is such a nice guy in the limelight, and in real life it felt like we were hanging out with our friend. My uncle hooked me up to see Foreigner in 1981, including 2 backstage passes. I took a girl I really liked, but she ended up meeting Mick Jones and disappearing with him into a dressing room. I didn't see her again that night, so I guess you could say I got fricked by Mick Jones. My aunt went on a date with Jimmy Buffett. She said he picked her up, stopped at a gas station, bought a jar of pickles and then drove to the beach. They ate pickles and he took her home. Not me. But my aunt dated Matthew McConaughey before he was famous. He ended up getting invited to her wedding to my normal uncle, and proceeded to pass out drunk in the back of my family's car. He refused to leave, and now my dad refuses to watch his movies. I had an English teacher that went on a date with Mark Hamill just after filming Star Wars in the 70s. She said he was a nice guy and was very humble. He said he was a small-time actor and said he had just finished a new movie that he thought might be successful. They only went out once and she never heard from him again. Saw him in Star Wars a few months later and had her mind blown. My friend's aunt went on a blind date with Gerard Butler, circa 300. The movie, not the year. There was a big miscommunication, because he was looking for a hookup and she's a kindly French-Canadian woman in her 50s, but they both had a laugh about it and enjoyed supper with each other. She said he was very kind, and very muscular. Probably too late for this, but about 15 years ago, when the show The Simple Life, with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie was popular, I made out with Paris Hilton at a nightclub in Baltimore. Essentially, they were filming them doing all sorts of random jobs around the country and staying with local families, all for the culture clash of laughs. One of those families ended up being my friend and her family. Being a close friend, and a well-known admirer of Paris at the time, I was invited over and got to hang with her and Nicole Richie a good amount while they were in town. Both of them were super sweet, and a lot smarter than they played for the camera. Paris was a great kisser, and this story is always a hit with my friends. A few months later, her phone was hacked and nudes were leaked. My number was in her phone book and I got spammed with prank calls from 4chan, or something. I imagine it was a lot worse for anyone who was actually famous. Anyhow, basically lost total contact after that, but still a fun story. I matched with Chloe Moritz on Bumble once, but then I said I liked her in Dark Shadows and she ghosted. Sad pensive face. John Krasinski liked my Venmo donation to his charity, so it's basically like we're dating. My mom lived in Key West in the early mid-80s. She dated Sting for a while. He had a really nice yacht and they went on a sailing trip, during which he realized my mom is psycho. She is. He ended it right after. Sometimes to frick with my dad I'll start singing Roxanne or Message in a Bottle. Not dated for any of these stories, but semi-related. My mom went to a party with Janis Joplin. She said she was wild, funny, but crude, and smelled like she hadn't showered or brushed her teeth in weeks. Janis Joplin died not long after. I went to university in Westchester, PA. Seeing Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn, and crew was a relatively common sight. The first time I saw them was the same night I got the call from my parents telling me that my family dog was put down, very old, very sick. My friends took me out drinking and we ran into Bam and crew. Bam asked why I was down, and when I told him, he bought my drinks for the rest of the night. I went out bar hopping with them a few times after that. They were nice, but wild. Could never quite prepare myself for a night out with them. Ryan was as kind as could be and absolutely hilarious. My mom dated Keanu Reeves back in high school. She broke up with him because he was too focused on his band with his friends at the time. If only. Years ago at a hotel bar party I saw Elijah Cuthbert sent a bottle of vodka to her table. Upon learning it was me who sent it, she motioned me over to her table, promptly asked me if I was a drug dealer, told me I was dressed like a bum, and sent me back to my table with my bottle of vodka. That was my date with Elisha. I guess we just weren't meant to be. I have a friend whose great-great-grandma was in a relationship with Joseph Stalin. A friend of mine banged Matthew McConaughey. She's a costumer in Hollywood and was hanging out in the bar at Chateau Marmont when Matt comes up to her and says, "How about you and me walked 30 feet and get naked?" Her initial response was LOL no, but by the end of the night her friends convinced her she had to do it. This was peak 2000s Matt when he was ripped and constantly shirtless. So, she went up to his room at the hotel and they banged. Apparently it was sweaty, mostly from behind, and he preferred to watch them, mostly him. In the mirror, same girl also dated McGee from NCIS, but apparently he was a total sweetheart. My wife's aunt fricked David Hasselhoff 30 odd years ago. She worked in the television industry. She is now a lesbian LOL. My college roommate's cousin, I believe, went on a date, maybe multiple dates, with Armie Hammer before he blew up in the social network, and apparently he forgot all about the date. They went on, and when he tried to introduce himself to her at another encounter, she said something along the lines of, "I know, we used to date, pretty sure the guy is married now." My old English teacher is good friends with Serj Tankian, lead singer of System of a Down, and she always talked about having coffee with him, and I'm still jealous to this day. Damn, I'm so late and I know this will get buried, but when my mom's aunt died they were going through her stuff and found a picture of her sitting on JFK's lap. No one knew anything about it. A family friend's mom went clubbing with Lady Gaga. Afterwards, Gaga asked if she knew who she was. Friend's mom had no idea. My cousin was hit on by Shaq at a festival. When she pointed out that he was married, he allegedly said, "I'm Muslim. I'm allowed to have many wives." My mom had a dinner date with George Clooney in the 90s. She didn't really say much apart from the fact that he's an interesting and charismatic guy, but she honestly didn't think he was going to blow up. That little monster kid from the first Mad Max lived next door to us as kids and constantly chased my sister around trying to kiss her. My aunt kissed Gordon Lightfoot in a bathroom at one of his concerts. I'm guessing there was probably more, but she didn't elaborate. Didn't date, but I made out with Shiloh, the girl who sang that Operator Don't Call Me I'll Call You Later song. I've been seeing her online lately because of her relationship with Unision. Back when they were still a small bar band, my mother had drinks with the Cult. The lead singer had told her he was in a band, but she didn't believe him, so when they played Wildflower that night, he dedicated the song to her. One of my dad's close friends is Jim Carrey's first wife. Apparently he turned into kind of a dick when he got famous. Shark 8NG. I know. I remember a decade or so again when their grown kids band was trying to make a living with their music. She really wanted Jim to help them get bookings and stuff, and he was all they need to make it on their own. Then he got a new girlfriend who told him to help his kid out, and he did. First wife is still salty about that. Not a date, per se, but I had a nice quiet dinner with Samantha Fox in her hotel room in Toronto in the 80s. She was in town for a show and I was attached to her security detail. She asked me to eat with her because she didn't want to go out but hated eating alone. Sweet girl. Kinda sad too. Lonely. Friend of mine dated Brad Pitt in college. 2 or 3 dates if I remember correctly. I went to a different school, but remember meeting him when I went to visit my friend. My mom was really good friends with Andre the Giant, Andre Rene Rousimov, because he used to frequent her place of work. According to her, he was the sweetest, most gentle man she ever met in her life. She misses him. Disappointed but relieved face. Jonah Hill awkwardly slid me his number when I worked in a hotel he was staying at. We went to coffee once and he got super clingy. Asked me for nudes every day. I was 20 and a virgin. He wanted to throw me a 21 Street birthday party in Palm Springs, and when I politely declined he turned Riara Niseguai. He wasn't even funny. R. Kelly asked me out on a date in the mid-90s. I declined because I had a boyfriend at the time. Besides, I was too old for him, LOL. I dated a girl who went on to be a sort of alternative porn star. We were both 17/18, and she was really nice and we got on really well, but she was almost too obsessed with sex even then. The second time we hung out, she gave me a blowjob in a graveyard. Like, it really couldn't get more emo. And yes, it really was that good. We broke up and kind of lost contact, and then I found out she was doing porn. Think she only did it for a little while, but it was certainly interesting when I found out. My aunt lived down the street from Leonardo DiCaprio when she was a kid. He was her first kiss. She was 12. He was 13. It was behind the school gym. Apparently he was a really nice kid. She moved away before he started landing roles. Totally lost touch. I dated Flux Pavilion for 7 years. It was great. So we got married in January. I enjoy my own company, so the touring isn't really a problem. I have a family friend who dated Daniel Radcliffe. I was 7 at the time they dated, and a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't remember much aside from the fact that he was a really sweet guy. On my 8th birthday, my family friend told Daniel it was my birthday and he texted me a personal happy birthday message despite never having met me. Absolutely made it the best birthday ever. My college roommate and best friend became YouTube famous over the years. It has been really odd to watch it happen. I've been on trips with her, gone to conventions, seen fans cry over her, and cry over Remy, which is even odder. And it's a weird balance of totally normal and totally abnormal. When we go out to lunch, sometimes she'll get a fan or two that ask for a picture, but it has changed the way she views the world. Every time she leaves the house, it is stressful for her. She's always worried about how she's looking or acting. She's always been a sweet girl, so she really doesn't have much to worry about. But she stresses so much about being her best self to everyone she meets because you never know who knows her and who doesn't. She's terrified of anyone having anything but a 100% positive experience with her. It can really wear on a person to not be able to let that go. And yes, YouTube famous may not be what OP had in mind, but I'm sure this applies elsewhere. The loss of anonymity is brought up often with celebrity, but I didn't really understand it till I saw her go through it myself. Dated a famous player on the Giants. Ego was huge. Eggplant was huge. Date was intimidating. Sex was disappointing. He paid for my Uber 2 hours away, LOL. When I was a teenager, my friend said she dated one of the Backstreet Boys, but she was lying. So I just cut out the middleman for you. A fairly close acquaintance of mine at the time went on a few dates with Natalie Portman when they were both at Harvard around 2002. He said she was exceptionally down to earth, genuine, and very engaging. Not me, but my aunt dated Weird Al Yankovic when she was in her mid-20s. I wasn't alive back then, but my family tells me he was a genuinely funny person in a way you wouldn't very much expect. I can't personally give any examples, but my dad and aunt have plenty of stories. One of my much older cousins actually has a signed guitar that Al played within a live show. My aunt and Al met from my dad being a radio DJ as a teenager, and he met a lot of celebrities through that, mostly 90s and early 2000s pop and country stars. But anyways, the station my dad worked at threw Weird Al a birthday party, and my aunt just happened to be there, and they ended up together for a decent amount of time. Every once in a while Al will come into town to say hi to her. Even though they aren't together, they are still friends. And no, Al isn't cheating on his wife with my aunt. My aunt's a strong married Christian, and I am more than 100% sure she won't do that. One of these days I might end up meeting him, which I think would be pretty cool. Rosario Dawson liked 2 of my tweets once, so you could say it was getting pretty serious. Posted this before. Not really a celebrity, and I did not know when we first met that she was famous. I had a brief friendship/relationship with a former porn star. She was a really nice woman, and when I was aware of her fame it did not cause any problems. Every now and then someone would go wide-eyed when they saw her. Men tended to just look, and if they had friends they would point her out to them. Women were much more upfront. They would say things like, "I loved that scene with you and whatever guy." And they would usually say a particular position that was their favorite. That even happened when we were sitting together having lunch. Please subscribe if you like the video. It really helps the channel to grow. Adios.